What would you do if you fell in love with someone you knew you could not get? Stick around to hear how Isabelle did manage just that in today's story. Isabelle Hartley stood at the window of her modest home, gazing out at the sprawling estate of the Montrose family. The manicured lawns and grand architecture were constant reminders of a world she could observe but never truly enter. Her father, a loyal driver for the Montroses for over 20 years, had instilled in her a deep sense of pride in their work ethic, yet also a lingering awareness of her place in society. They were the help, valuable yet invisible. Growing up in this dichotomy, Isabelle felt the weight of expectations placed upon her, both by her family and by the opulent lifestyle that surrounded her. While other kids dreamed of wealth and luxury, all she longed for was acceptance and a sense of belonging. Her father's stories about driving the Montrose children to extravagant parties often left her with a bittersweet taste. She was aware that she would never be invited to those celebrations as anything more than an observer. The annual staff picnic was approaching, an event that always filled Isabelle with mixed emotions. On one hand, it offered a chance to see familiar faces and partake in lighthearted activities. On the other, it was a painful reminder of the divide between her life and that of the Montrose family. She prepared herself for another day of mingling with people who lived lives so vastly different from hers, reminding herself to keep her distance, both physically and emotionally. As she arrived at the picnic amidst laughter and clinking glasses, a sense of apprehension washed over her. The air was warm, filled with the scent of barbecued delicacies and blooming flowers. Families gathered under colorful tents while children chased each other, their carefree joy contrasting starkly with Isabelle's cautious demeanor. It was then she spotted him, Ethan. He was easygoing and charismatic, effortlessly engaging those around him with his wit and charm. When he approached Isabelle, he introduced himself as a new intern in the hospitality division. In that moment, something shifted within her. His genuine smile made her feel seen for the first time in ages. Their chemistry crackled with an electric intensity that swept away her reservations. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to relax, forgetting about societal barriers as they shared laughter under the sun. But little did Isabelle know that Ethan harbored secrets that would soon turn her world upside down. The day of the annual company staff picnic dawned bright and warm, yet Isabelle Hartley felt a familiar knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach as she prepared to attend. The event was always a mix of excitement and dread, an opportunity for relaxation, yet a stark reminder of the social chasm that separated her from the Montrose family and their guests. She slipped on a simple sundress, feeling out of place even before arriving, and took a deep breath as she stepped out of her home. As she approached the sprawling Montrose estate, the scene before her was nothing short of extravagant. Colorful tents dotted the expansive lawn, adorned with vibrant flowers and lavish decorations. Laughter and music filled the air, mingling with the savory aromas wafting from food stations where caterers served gourmet dishes. Isabelle could see families gathered in clusters, their children running freely, laughter echoing through the manicured gardens. It was a picture of joy and privilege, and she felt like an intruder. Navigating through the throng of elegantly dressed guests, Isabelle's heart raced as she exchanged polite smiles with familiar faces, each encounter a reminder of her role as the help. She clutched a drink in her hand to fill the silence surrounding her, attempting to appear at ease as she stood on the periphery of conversations that buzzed around her. The air buzzed with tales of lavish vacations and exclusive events, topics she couldn't contribute to but only listened to with a bittersweet longing. Despite feeling like an outsider, Isabelle sought solace among the staff members who shared similar backgrounds. They laughed together about the quirks of their wealthy employers while discreetly observing the revelry taking place just beyond their circle. Yet, even in this camaraderie, she sensed the boundaries that society had drawn. It was comforting but also painfully clear that they would always remain on the other side. It was during one of these moments of quiet reflection that Ethan appeared, breaking through her cocoon of discomfort. He was unlike anyone she had met before. His easy charm and genuine smile were refreshing in a sea of superficiality. As they began to chat, an effortless connection formed between them. For the first time at this picnic, Isabelle felt an exhilarating spark and found herself laughing freely, momentarily forgetting the divide between their worlds. But beneath that laughter lay an unspoken truth. Unbeknownst to her, this moment of bliss was precariously balanced on secrets yet to be revealed. As Ethan approached, Isabelle felt an unexpected thrill course through her. He was effortlessly charismatic, with a disarming smile that seemed to light up the space around him. She took a moment to admire his casual confidence as he made his way through the crowd, his easy demeanor contrasting sharply with the formality of the event. When their eyes met, she could sense an instant spark and her heart raced in response. "Is this your first time at the picnic?" Ethan asked, leaning slightly closer as he offered his hand in greeting. His voice was warm and inviting, making Isabelle feel oddly at ease despite the chaos around them. "It is," she replied, trying to manage her nerves. "I usually keep my distance from these events." "Smart move," he chuckled, glancing around at the ostentatious displays of wealth. "I mean, who wouldn't feel out of place among all this?" He gestured toward a group of impeccably dressed guests engaging in animated discussions about their latest vacations and extravagant purchases. Isabelle couldn't help but laugh at his remark, feeling an instant connection as if they shared an understanding of the absurdity surrounding them. "Exactly. Sometimes it feels like I'm watching a movie I wasn't cast in," she said, her laughter ringing out like music in the air. Ethan's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Well, I'd say you're definitely one of the leads in this film, you just need to own it." His compliment sent a rush of warmth through her, making her feel seen for the first time amid the lavish spectacle. As they continued to chat, the conversation flowed effortlessly between them. They engaged in witty banter about everything from their favorite foods to the quirks of their respective jobs. Ethan had an uncanny ability to draw her out, coaxing stories from her that she had never shared with anyone else. With every laugh they exchanged, Isabelle felt her walls crumbling. It was as if she had known him for years rather than mere moments. For the first time in ages, Isabelle felt valued and appreciated, no longer just a shadow on the outskirts of someone else's life. In Ethan's presence, her insecurities faded into the background as exhilaration took center stage. Yet even as she savored this newfound connection, there lingered a subtle tension, an unspoken truth that would eventually weave its way into their story, challenging everything she thought she knew about herself and him. As Isabelle and Ethan continued to converse, the laughter between them felt like a soothing balm for her often jaded heart. Each word he spoke seemed to peel away the layers of guardedness she had built over the years. It was as if he was gently coaxing her to reveal more of herself, and she found herself wanting to share her dreams and aspirations, those fragments of her life she rarely voiced. "Do you ever feel like you want more than what's handed to you?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper as they stepped away from the bustling crowd. It was a question that had lingered in her mind for years, but it felt safe to express it in this moment of connection. Ethan paused, his expression thoughtful. "Absolutely," he replied. "I think everyone does at some point. What do you dream about?" Isabelle hesitated, feeling vulnerable but buoyed by his sincerity. "I've always wanted to travel, to see the world beyond this town. I want to write stories that inspire people, real stories about real lives." Her cheeks flushed as she spoke. It was rare for her to articulate those ambitions out loud. Ethan's eyes lit up with interest. "That's amazing. What kind of stories?" She took a deep breath, emboldened by his genuine curiosity. "I want to write about the things people overlook, the beauty in everyday struggles and triumphs. I think there's so much more beneath the surface if you take time to look." Ethan nodded appreciatively, encouraging her with a smile that made her heart flutter. "You should definitely pursue that. Everyone deserves their own story. It's what makes us human." For the first time in a long while, Isabelle felt seen, not just as the daughter of a driver or a shadow among wealth, but as an individual with hopes and dreams worth sharing. The conversation flowed effortlessly, revealing layers of vulnerability she rarely displayed. Yet even as she opened up, an internal conflict brewed within her. She couldn't shake off the creeping doubt. Was it wise to let someone into her world so quickly? Would this connection fade once they returned to their separate lives? The thought of being vulnerable again after years of carefully maintaining emotional distance left her uneasy. But Ethan's presence felt different. He radiated an authenticity that resonated with her own desire for deeper connections. As they laughed and shared their aspirations, Isabelle found herself daring to imagine a life where she could be more than just an observer, where she could chase after every adventure and every story waiting to unfold. Yet deep down, she feared what would happen when reality intruded on this fleeting moment of hope and possibility. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the picnic, Isabelle found herself lost in Ethan's laughter and the warmth of their conversation. But unbeknownst to her, beneath his carefree facade lay the weight of expectations that dictated every aspect of his life. Ethan was not merely an intern, he was the heir to the Montrose Empire, a legacy laden with responsibility and tradition. His family had built an empire of luxury and influence, one that demanded he uphold its reputation at all costs. Behind his charming smile was a young man wrestling with the impending reality of an arranged engagement, a commitment set by family expectations that felt more like a chain than a choice. In private moments away from the festive lawn, Ethan often found himself grappling with his dual existence. At work and in public, he donned the mask of the affable intern, eager to escape his gilded cage. He could slip into casual conversations and embrace spontaneity, if only for a brief interlude from the life that awaited him back home. Yet each moment spent feeling normal was tainted with guilt as he acknowledged the charade he was playing. His parents had chosen Caroline, an equally affluent and polished socialite, as his future bride, a union designed to strengthen ties and continue the legacy of wealth. The thought of being tethered to someone he barely knew sent ripples of dread through him as he imagined days filled with superficial gatherings and suffocating expectations. He yearned for authenticity, for genuine connection, which made his time with Isabelle feel like a breath of fresh air amidst oppressive humidity. As they continued talking, Ethan felt drawn to Isabelle's spirit. The way she articulated her dreams filled him with hope. Her aspirations mirrored his own desires for freedom and authenticity. They resonated deeply within him. But the more he revealed himself during their conversations, the heavier became the secret he carried. How could he explain his reality without shattering the idyllic moment they were sharing? Caught between two worlds, one that demanded conformity and another that whispered promises of adventure, Ethan found himself at a crossroads. Isabelle's laughter was intoxicating, but it also served as a stark reminder that their burgeoning connection might soon face insurmountable challenges once the truth came to light. Each joyful moment together felt bittersweet as he realized that they existed on borrowed time, teetering on the edge of revelation that could change everything. As the days turned into weeks, Isabelle and Ethan found themselves drawn to one another in ways that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Their encounters began to extend beyond the confines of work. Spontaneous lunch outings turned into late-night conversations under the stars, where they shared not only laughter but also their innermost thoughts and fears. One evening, as they strolled along a quiet path framed by blooming cherry blossoms, Ethan reached for Isabelle's hand, intertwining their fingers. The warmth of his touch sent a shiver of excitement through her. "You know," he said, glancing sideways at her, "this is the best part of my day." Isabelle chuckled softly, feeling a blush rise to her cheeks. "You really know how to make a girl feel special," she replied playfully, but deep down she felt something deeper blossoming between them, an emotional connection that transcended their respective worlds. They often explored the charming corners of their town together, discovering quaint cafes and cozy bookstores where they could lose themselves in conversation. In those moments, Ethan revealed snippets of his life, his love for classic literature, his passion for cooking, and even his struggles with family expectations, all while maintaining an air of mystery that kept Isabelle intrigued. His ability to open up created a safe space for her to share her own dreams and vulnerabilities, making her feel understood in a way she hadn't experienced before. One rainy afternoon, they took refuge in a small cafe adorned with twinkling fairy lights. Over steaming mugs of cocoa, Isabelle told him about her childhood dreams of becoming a writer. "I want to capture the real stories," she explained earnestly, "the ones that inspire hope and resilience." Ethan listened intently, his eyes reflecting genuine admiration. "You have a gift for storytelling," he encouraged. "Don't ever doubt that." His words ignited a flicker of hope within her heart, making her believe that maybe, just maybe, she could pursue those dreams. But as their bond deepened, so did the weight of Ethan's secret. Each time he looked into Isabelle's eyes, he felt a pang of guilt clawing at him. How could he continue to enjoy these intimate moments when he was living a lie? The fear of losing her if the truth came out loomed over him like a dark cloud, casting shadows on their otherwise blissful connection. Still, amidst the joy and laughter they shared, there remained an unspoken tension, a sense that their idyllic moments were on borrowed time, teetering precariously on the edge of revelation that could change everything they had come to cherish. As they leaned into each other during those late-night talks, both sensed that the world outside would soon intrude upon their fragile sanctuary. With each passing day, the weight of Ethan's dual identity pressed heavier on his shoulders. While he savored the moments spent with Isabelle, reveling in her laughter and warmth, he could feel the impending responsibilities of his family's legacy lurking in the background like an unwelcome shadow. The knowledge of his arranged engagement loomed over him, a constant reminder that his carefree time with her was bound by fleeting moments. Isabelle, on the other hand, began to envision a future filled with possibility, one that included Ethan. Her heart swelled with dreams of a shared life, free from the constraints of their social status. She imagined quiet mornings spent writing in a sunlit room, evenings filled with deep conversations, and adventures that would take them far beyond their current lives. In Ethan, she saw not just an escape from her routine but a partner who understood her aspirations and fears. Yet Ethan's internal struggle began to fracture the bliss they had built together. He would often catch her gazing at him with hope and affection, and guilt would gnaw at him like a relentless hunger. How could he promise her a future when his own path was dictated by decisions he had no control over? Each time he felt the urge to confess his true identity, fear would clench his heart and silence his voice. The potential for loss was too great. She deserved stability and clarity, qualities he felt he couldn't provide. One evening, as they sat on a weathered bench overlooking a serene lake, Isabelle turned to him with an earnestness that sent a jolt through him. "Ethan, I know we come from different worlds, but I can't shake this feeling that there's something special about what we have," she said, vulnerability lacing her words. Ethan looked away, struggling to find the right response. "I feel it too," he finally whispered, heart aching at the honesty of her confession. "But sometimes our worlds don't make it easy." Isabelle's brow furrowed slightly as she sensed an underlying tension in his tone. "What do you mean?" she pressed gently, searching his face for answers. He hesitated, caught between desire and duty. "I just think we should enjoy what we have right now without complicating things." But how long could they continue like this? Each stolen moment together drew them closer, while simultaneously deepening the divide created by unspoken truths. In every shared glance and burst of laughter lay the fragile balance of their connection, one precariously perched between exhilaration and uncertainty. As he sat there with her, imagining a future filled with possibility, even as reality threatened to intrude, Ethan knew he was standing at a crossroads where love could either flourish or shatter irreparably. The evening of the lavish black tie event arrived, glimmering with elegance and extravagance. Isabelle donned a stunning dress that turned heads, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness as she stepped into the grand venue. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above, casting a warm glow on the polished marble floor where guests mingled, adorned in designer gowns and tailored suits. Despite her initial apprehension, she felt like she belonged, if only for a night. As she navigated through the crowd, her heart raced at the thought of seeing Ethan. Their last conversation echoed in her mind, filled with promises of laughter and romance. But as she turned a corner, the air shifted and a hush fell over the room. The moment struck as Ethan was introduced to the crowd, not as an intern but as the host of the evening, the heir to the Montrose empire. Isabelle's heart dropped. Shock coursed through her veins as she processed the reality unfolding before her. This was no mere event. It was a showcase of the wealth and influence that had always felt so distant yet familiar. Ethan stood at the center of it all, a confident smile on his face as he graciously accepted applause from guests she recognized from her childhood, prominent figures who represented everything she had ever felt excluded from. Her mind raced as memories replayed every moment they shared, his laughter, his encouragement, his willingness to connect with her on a personal level. But now, standing before her was a man enveloped by expectations she could never comprehend. She felt a wave of betrayal crash over her, as if the foundation of their relationship was crumbling beneath her feet. Was their bond just an escape for him, a fleeting thrill to distract him from the burdens of his life? She tried to push through the crowd, desperation clawing at her chest. Each step toward him felt like navigating through an unseen barrier that suddenly loomed between them. As she reached him, her voice caught in her throat, face flushed with confusion and hurt. "Ethan," she started, unsure how to articulate the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. He turned to her, surprise flashing across his features. "Isabelle, I didn't expect to see you here." His bright demeanor faltered slightly as he registered the look in her eyes. "Why didn't you tell me?" she demanded softly, fighting to maintain her composure in front of the gathering crowd around them. "I wanted to protect what we had," he replied, sincerity lacing his voice as he stepped closer. But those words hung heavy in the air, and Isabelle felt more isolated than ever before. In that moment, she understood that their worlds were irreparably divided, leaving her to question everything they had built together. As reality crashed in, she realized their connection might not survive against the stark truths of his life, and that revelation shattered her heart. Isabelle stood at the edge of the bustling gala, her heart racing as emotions churned within her. The glittering chandeliers that once filled her with wonder now felt like a spotlight illuminating her pain. Ethan had been the one bright spot in her life, a beacon of hope amid years spent in the shadows. Yet in that moment, everything she thought she knew about him and their connection was crumbling. Betrayal coursed through her veins like ice water. How could he have hidden such a monumental truth from her? Was their entire relationship built on a facade? The laughter they shared, the dreams they spoke of, it all felt tainted now, as if it had been mere entertainment for him while he awaited the inevitable return to his privileged life. A whirlwind of questions thrashed around in her mind. Did he ever truly care for her, or was she just an escape from his gilded cage? As she navigated through the crowd, trying to maintain an air of composure, memories flooded back. His teasing smile at the picnic, his genuine interest in her stories, and those moments beneath the stars when he made her feel special and seen. Were those instances real or merely part of the act he played? Each recollection added weight to her turmoil, and she felt vulnerable and exposed under the layers of fancy dresses and over-the-top decor surrounding her. The tumult inside Isabelle intensified as she searched for Ethan among the elegantly dressed guests. She wanted answers, but also dreaded what they might reveal. What if he had only seen their time together as a temporary reprieve from reality? Her heart sank further at the thought that perhaps she was just another thrill for a man used to living life in extremes. Finally catching his eye across the room, Isabelle saw him surrounded by influential figures, flashing polite smiles and engaging effortlessly in conversation, a world that felt so foreign to her. But all she could see were the boundaries between them. They were no longer just two people sharing fleeting moments, they represented two vastly different worlds. As their gazes locked, something flickered within Ethan's expression. Was it regret? A yearning? But before she could decipher it, doubt clouded Isabelle's mind once more. If he had deceived her about who he truly was, how could she trust anything else he said or felt? The warmth of their connection seemed replaced with icy uncertainty. In that instant, realization hit harder than any blow. Love cannot thrive on deception. If Ethan was not ready to fight against his family's expectations for what they shared, then perhaps it was time for Isabelle to reconsider what this relationship truly meant for her future. As tears threatened to spill down her cheeks, she understood that preserving herself was now more important than clinging to an illusion, a painful but essential truth in a night that promised elegance yet delivered heartbreak. Isabelle's heart ached as she left the gala, the weight of betrayal still heavy on her shoulders. She needed space to think, to process the whirlwind of emotions that had overtaken her. Meanwhile, Ethan felt the distance between them like a chasm, each passing moment amplifying his sense of urgency. He couldn't let her walk away without fighting for what they had built together. In the days that followed, Ethan wrestled with his family obligations and the arranged engagement that loomed over him. Conversations with his parents weighed heavily on his conscience. They believed he was dutifully preparing for a future he never wanted. Yet every time he closed his eyes, he saw Isabelle's radiant smile and felt the warmth of her laughter, reminders of the authenticity and love he longed for in a life that felt scripted and suffocating. Determined to make things right, Ethan sought out Isabelle. He found her at a local cafe where they had shared many quiet moments, hoping she would still feel the connection that had sparked between them. As he entered, a wave of nostalgia washed over him. This was where they had begun to dream together. When their eyes met, he saw sadness etched across her face and knew he had to be honest. "Isabelle," he began, urgency lacing his voice as he approached her table. "I need you to understand something." Her gaze hardened, but she did not look away. "What could you possibly say that would change what happened?" "I know I deceived you," Ethan admitted, each word heavy with sincerity. "But I can't deny my feelings for you any longer. I don't want to go back to that life, the one laid out for me by my family." Isabelle's heart skipped a beat as doubt flickered in her mind. "But what about your obligations, your family? Are you really willing to give all of that up?" "I've realized that happiness isn't found in wealth or prestige. It's found in being true to oneself, and with you," he replied earnestly. "I want to pursue a life that includes you if you'll have me." Tears welled in Isabelle's eyes as she processed his words. Could it be possible? A part of her yearned for the love they shared, yet another part felt the weight of societal expectations pressing down. "Ethan, this is all so new, so uncertain." "I'm willing to fight for us," he insisted, determination shining through his vulnerability. In that moment, something shifted within Isabelle. She could see sincerity in his eyes and felt an undeniable pull toward him despite her fears. Maybe love was worth the risk after all. Taking a deep breath, she whispered, "Then we'll figure it out together." As their hands intertwined across the table, both Ethan and Isabelle understood that this was just the beginning of a challenging journey ahead, one filled with uncertainty, but also with hope and promise for a future built on authenticity and love. As Isabelle and Ethan embarked on this new chapter of their lives, the lessons they learned through their tumultuous journey resonated deeply within them. Love, they discovered, was far more than a feeling. It was a courageous choice, one that required honesty, vulnerability, and a willingness to confront societal expectations. Ethan's decision to step away from his family's expectations allowed him to embrace a life defined not by wealth and privilege, but by authentic connections and genuine happiness. He realized that true identity lay not in the titles one held or the opulence that surrounded them, but in the choices made for love and fulfillment. With unwavering determination, he chose Isabelle, ready to face both the challenges and joys of their future together. For Isabelle, this journey had been transformative. She had spent years feeling like an outsider, yearning for acceptance in a world where she had always felt invisible. Through her relationship with Ethan, she learned that self-worth comes not from external validation, but from being true to oneself. Her heart swelled with a newfound sense of strength as she embraced her own aspirations alongside her love for Ethan. No longer would she hide in the shadows of wealth. Instead, she would carve her own path forward. As they faced the uncertain terrain ahead, a path filled with external pressures and opinions, they found solace in each other's understanding. Their discussions about dreams and aspirations shifted from late-night whispers to actionable plans. Together, they imagined lives where they could pursue their passions, create stories worth sharing, and support each other's journeys without fear of judgment. With each step they took into their shared future, Isabelle and Ethan understood that love required fierce courage. They would face disapproval and obstacles from those who preferred the status quo to embracing change. Yet trusting in their bond instilled a sense of resolve that made them believe they could conquer any challenge together. Together, they stood at the threshold of a new beginning, a powerful testament to love's ability to transcend societal boundaries and empower individuals to choose authenticity over obligation. As echoes of laughter filled the air around them, they exchanged soft smiles, their hands firmly intertwined, solidifying their commitment to each other. In that moment, everything felt possible. The past faded into the background as they looked toward the horizon with hopeful hearts, ready to embark on a journey grounded in love, authenticity, and a shared belief that they could forge their own identity together. No longer defined by others' expectations, but liberated by their mutual desire for freedom and love.